Now that you have created the first program in JavaScript, let's dive a little bit deeper into more concepts and see how we can declare the variables inside the program. So in this video, I'll be discussing about where, let and const keywords and what are the main differences between all three. So watch the video till the end because I will be discussing which one we should be using in our programs. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Hey guys, this is Neha from Webstack. Welcome to the fourth episode of this JavaScript series. So before getting started, if you are new here, make sure you click on that subscribe button and do hit the bell so that you don't miss any updates from me. Now let's see what are the three ways in which you can declare variables inside the JavaScript programming. So the very first one is the var keyword, and by saying var, this is an oldest version which we were using, but now we have some more advanced keywords with some new features like let and const. So now these two, let and const, we are using today, and these are conforming to the standards of ES6. So ES6, or you can call it as ECMAScript 2015. So we got this let and const recently, but var has become now obsolete and most of the programmers don't use it now. So let's check out the differences one by one. So coming to the very first difference in all three of them, talking about var, it is currently scoped to the current execution context. So let's check out what does this actually mean. Now I'll write a simple program here to demonstrate you what is actually the scope of var keyword. So now I'll be just declaring a variable here. Let's say the variable is points. It's points, and let's say the points are 100, and there is a function called redeem, and inside this function I'll declare one more variable called total, and let's say the total price is 3000. And now let's try to print it after this function. So I'll just write console.log, and first I will be printing this points that is outside the function, and then I'll try to print this total value. So I'll simply write console.log, then I'll write total. So now you can see that we are getting 100 in points and we are getting a reference error in case of this total. So what is happening here? So actually whatever you are writing inside the function, it's treated as a local variable. That means whatever you declare with the help of var keyword, and if they are like inside this function, so they are locally scoped, but whatever you are writing outside the function, they are treated as global variables. But now if I write it inside the if block, let's say I'll write it inside if block, let's say if, and then just a vague thing that is if true, then you can check out that it is not giving me any error, rather it is printing the value. So this means that var keyword works globally in cases of if statements and any other area outside the functions, but inside the functions it works similar to let and const, which is actually locally scoped. Now checking about let keyword, you can check out that it is blocked scope. So let's see that in the code. Now let's try for let keyword. So I'll just declare these variables with let and like this. So now you can check that we are getting error in the second printing statement, that is when we are printing total. So that means your let keywords or let variables are only scoped inside these blocks. So a block is defined by something which is written inside the curly braces. So now if you just copy this from here, or in fact cut it from there and you paste it inside the function, then you can check out that yes, the value of total is getting printed in the console. So that means let is blocked scope. Similar is the case with const. So if I write const here, then also you can check that it is getting printed well inside this if statement. This was the very first difference about scoping. So let and const both have a blocked scope, whereas if you talk about the where keyword, this is having a global scope. Now let's move towards the second difference, that is window object. So we can see here in the diagram that where can be accessed by window object, whereas let and const cannot be just accessed by window object. Now let's check this out. Actually, your window object is a kind of global object, so it will only work for the variables which is declared by where keyword. So if I declare this points with where keyword, and if I check it whether I can access it with window object or not, let's try to write window dot points. So now you can check I'm getting an answer 100. Now let's try to put it this way, where I will declare this variable with the help of let keyword, and now let's try to access it with the help of window object, which is actually a global object. Now if I just press enter, it will say undefined. That means the let and const variables, we cannot access them with the help of the global object, that is window. If I can show you this as well, let's see for the const as well. So I have this variable called total. So now if I press enter, it will still say undefined. Now let's move on to the next comparison, where can be redeclared and let and const cannot be redeclared in the same scope. Let's say I'm declaring a variable where a equals to 20 and I'm just trying to print it here, console.log a. Now you can check out that the variable that it is printing is 20, and now I'll try to redeclare again. If I write this again, it is printing 20. So if we try in the case of let variable, so you can check that if I write let here, so it will say me that redeclaration of let a. So that means we cannot redeclare a variable, the same variable rather, in the same scope. But what if I write it in different scope? So let's say I'm writing it inside different scope. Let me put a curly braces here. And now if I check again, so let's put it here. Now you can see that it is giving me a value called undefined. So instead of error, I'm getting the value as undefined because I have not defined it here. So if I define it here again, it will say 100. So that means within the same scope, you cannot redeclare a let or a const variable. So if I show you the const as well, if I write const and then here also const, it will still say error because we have not declared it. So it is not possible that you are not providing any definition to a constant variable. So it is very important that you write the definition. Now let's move on to the next comparison, that is initialization in where, let and const. If I write something like where and then if I write a and I just print this out, that console.log, and simply I'll write a here, then you can see we are getting undefined. So that means that you do not need to define or do not need to provide a value to the variable which has been declared using where keyword, whereas if you write let here, that also gives you the privilege not to define it. But if I use const here, then it will not allow me to print the value because it will be giving an error that you are missing equals to in const declaration. So in const declaration, it's really important to give the value. So if I write some value here, let's say Neha, so it is giving me the value as Neha now. So initialization is optional in case of where and let, whereas in constant or const keyword, it has to be like mandatory. You have to initialize the variable. Now the last thing is that reassigning part. So it is written like where can be reassigned, let can be reassigned, but const cannot be. So let's see the difference in let and const first, and let's see if I declare a variable with let message, and I'll write here hello. Now this is declared with let, and if I want to print it, I'll be printing it with the help of this method console.log, and you can check out that hello is getting printed. And now if I want to redefine it, so I can simply write message equals to let's say goodbye. So I'll just save it, and you can see the message has been changed. If I just write const here, then you can check that we cannot assign a new value to the constant variable. You cannot say that const keyword or const variable is completely immutable. That means we cannot change it, but actually we cannot change the reference to that variable or to that memory area. We will get to know this when we will be going through arrays and objects. So for the time being, I'll just say that you cannot change the value of this variable message. So now coming to the last section of this video, what you should be using either var, let and const. So in my opinion, var is an obsolete one, so it is not recommended to use that. But in case of let and const, you can use it interchangeably, but we'll be working with const because, so let's say by mistake you just override this message in future when you are doing it with let keyword, so you can override the message as well. So to avoid that confusion, if you are pretty sure that you don't need to change the value, you want to make it fixed throughout your program, so what you can do, you can just keep that variable as constant and you can declare it with const keyword. So that's it for the let, const and var. I hope you are clear with the differences between all three, and if you have any other differences, you can just write it in the comment section below, and we will be doing a variable hoisting in the next video or in the upcoming videos. So if you like the content, please give the thumbs up and do subscribe and share with all your friends, and do hit the bell so that you don't miss any video updates from me. So see you in the next video.